Hey guys, it's Shaka and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video is going to be my November wrap up, and I had a really good reading month. I read a total of 12 books, which sets me at 113 books this year. I know I beat my record because my record was 100 books for the year of 2020. And so yeah, I'm just still going. There's no really end date at this point. I'm just gonna see where it takes me. So yeah, like I said, I have 12 books to talk about, so let's get started into this video because it's gonna be a little long. Okay, so just to tell you, this is going to be in no particular order. I'm just going to be talking about them randomly, not gonna of when the first or last book I read, so let's just get started. Okay, first is Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and I actually just finished this one today. So, this is my very first V.E. Schwab's book, and you've probably seen this all over BookTube, Bookstagram, Book TikTok, everyone. So like I said, I've never read anything by V.E. Schwab, and so I was like, okay, let me see what this book's about. I will say this, it took me like 3 ways into the book to actually get into it, but when I did, it was really good. So this got a 4 out of 5 stars for me, just because, like I said, it was my first book by this author. So what is this book about, you may ask? Well, so this book follows Addie LaRue, and she makes a deal with the devil, basically, to live forever, but every deal has a consequence, and in her case, where everyone forgets who she is as soon as they close their eyes or leave the room. So nobody actually remembers Addie at all. You know, so for the past 300 years, she's been roaming the earth, just kind of trying to live, but as a ghost, really, because, like I said, nobody remembers who she is until one day in New York City, she meets this guy named Henry who remembers her, and it's a love story mixed with historical fiction, I guess. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it took me a while to get into this book, but V.E. Schwab, I'm so happy I finally read something by her. Yeah, so let's get on to the next books. Okay, next book is a book I picked up in Barnes & Noble. It was a very random buy. I just read the back of it. I was like, okay, I'll buy it. It was cheap, so I was like, okay. And that is Locked in Time by Lewis Duncan. And this is about a girl named Nora who just lost her mother in a car accident. And her father, their parents, it's been like a year since her mother died, and her father is already with this girl who has 2 other children, and after her year of boarding school is up, she goes to the summer to meet her dad's fiance now and her 2 children. And something's not right with this family. The mother is very nice but very secretive, and then the older son, can't remember his name, but it just doesn't add up. And then the younger sister is kind of acting very mature for a girl who's only 12 years old. And Nora kind of does not trust this family, and she discovers something evolving time. This family's hiding something. It's so good. And fun fact, Lewis Duncan actually wrote the book, which I didn't know was a book until this year, I Know What You Did Last Summer, that movie from the 90s. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this book, and I'm gonna pick more stuff up by her. You should check this out. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was a good and a very quick read, as you can tell. It's only, how much? Less than 300 pages, so go pick this up. Okay, next book on the list is Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Monastico, and she is the author of Stalking Jack the Ripper series, which I am a fan of, and this was Fairy Loot's book of the month. And look how beautiful this edition is. You probably saw that in my unboxing, but still obsessed with this. I read it right away, which is rare when I get Fairy Loot books. I always try to read them, but I never do it in that same month as I get the box. So yeah, so this follows twin sister witches. named Veronica and Amelia. And one day, her twin sister gets murdered. And she is on the hunt to see who killed her sister, basically. And this is where she meets a demon. It's one of the 70 devils. It's Wrath, one of the wicked. A prince of hell she meets, and they strike a bargain, and he helps her discover who killed her sister. This book was good. It left on a cliffhanger for book 2. I want book 2 already. Yeah, I enjoyed this. It was slow paced for me at the very beginning. Like, I was just like, this book's dragging on. That's why I got 4 instead of 5 out of 5 stars. But yeah. Okay, next book is Sky Without Stars by Jessica Barotti and Joanna Riddle? Ryden? Can't speak. Anyway, so this is basically Les Mis. Yes, Les Mis set in space. Yeah, I saw this on Bookstagram like a year ago, and that's how she pitched it. I was like, ooh, that sounds really good. So I picked it up. So basically, this was a big book. I don't remember much of it. It was good, but not something that stuck with me. I will continue with the series because book 2 is out. But yeah, I follow 3 people named Cherie, Marcel, and Antoinette. Shani is a thug who pretends to be a boy to basically run the streets because girls obviously can't, so she pretends to be a boy. And Marcel is a police officer whose father is an ex-war criminal terrorist, and he works under his grandfather. And then finally we have Antoinette, who's been living underground with nuns. Basically she's in a commune, and she goes up to the surface and finds out she's been born for greater things. Yeah, this was a heavy read, and I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, next 2 books I'm going to be talking about are in the same series, kind of, and that is Catwoman, Soul Stealer, and Superman, Dawnbreaker. And this are part of the DC Legacies that they've been coming out with. I've owned these for a couple years, and I finally decided to read them. So this is by Sarah J. Maas, and this is by Matt Delapin. So first we have Catwoman, that's followed Selena Kay, and she I just love this book because I'm a huge comic book fan, and having this told in a different view by good authors, I was loving it. Like, she was trained by an Al Ghul, and she was part of the League of Assassins, which I loved. And then she comes back to Gotham, and oh, this was such a good book. Sarah J. Maas, you did great with this, Catwoman. Like, bravo, my girl, bravo. Okay, next is Superman. And Superman, so I have some critiques just because it reminded me a lot of Smallville, but not, kind of. Obviously, I knew it wasn't going to be the same as the show or the movies. This was good, but not, I didn't love it as much as I did Catwoman. But yeah, these were both good books, and the next book in the series, called Black Canary, is coming out next month, and I want it, and I need it, because Black Canary is one of my favorite, like, anti-villains, and Oliver Queen's in that book, and just, Okay, moving on. Okay, next book is Unpregnant by Jenny Hankers and Ted Clapton. Unpregnant. So, you've probably seen this around. It's now an HBO movie. The only reason I read this book, because I want to watch the movie, and then I want to see the differences between the book and the movie. I want to do that. This got a 3 out of 5 stars for me. So basically, a girl named Veronica Clark, who's 17, finds out she's knocked up. And where she lives, you can't get an abortion without a parent's permission. So she decides to go all the way to New Mexico, with her ex-best friend from middle school to get an abortion without her parents or anyone in her life knowing about it. A bunch of wacky things happen. It was just really kind of dumb, but I don't know. It's so hard to talk about this book because it's such a touchy subject with the pro-life movement, and you know, like I said, 3 out of 5 stars because at some parts it was really, really cringy and you were questioning whether or not she would get an abortion at the end. Like, would she change her mind? Because it was dropping a lot of hints that she would change her mind. And if she did, then like, then I just wasted my whole time reading this book. But yeah, spoiler, she winds up getting it. If you want, I'm about to check out the movie myself. Maybe the movie's better, hopefully, we'll see. Okay, moving on to the next book. Okay, next book is Comics Will Break Your Heart by Faith Erin Hicks. This was such a cute book. So basically it is about a girl named Mallory. Yeah, it was Mallory. And she basically, her grandfather created a bunch of comic books back in the 60s. And he got swindled to sell his rights over very cheaply, and now they are one of the biggest companies in the world, and she feels like that should have been her family's money, which it should have been because her grandfather helped create these characters. And then she meets a boy, of course, and he is the grandson of her grandpa's business partner who swindled him out of his money. Shocker. Anyway, they meet and they start having a little connection, and I love this book because it was comic related kind of, and they were talking about Comic-Con and how heroes change people's lives or how they touch them, which is so true. If you like comic books and the fandom and the sweet stories, I suggest checking out this book. It's a very cute rom-com thing. And I gave this one a 5 out of star read. Yeah, this was so cute. And I got this at Book Outlet actually, so this was real cheap for a hardcover. Okay, next book is Sierra Martinez and the Moonlight Beginning of Everything by Rachel Vasquez. I can't say her last name, I'm sorry. So initially I picked this book up because, ooh, look at that glare, because she has my last name. If you didn't know, my last name is Martinez, and when I saw this book, I was like, oh, I need it. This book has my last name. It's mine. So yeah, I did not know anything about it when I bought it. I just knew I wanted it because it had my last name. Yeah, that's why I bought it. Anyway, so this book is about Sierra, who lives in New Mexico with her parents, but then a year ago, they find out her mom isn't illegal and she is taken by ICE and deported back to Mexico, sadly. And then we find out that her mother tries to come back and wander to the desert, and it's believed that she is dead. So Sierra does not like her community anymore because the sheriff actually is the one that turned her over to ICE, and everyone does dirty whispers about her and her father, saying, ooh, do they have their papers as well, even though they both are American citizens. Then we find out later that Sierra's mom is actually alive and has some weird alien powers, so she was actually kidnapped while she was wandering the desert. And yeah, and then gets experiment with alien DNA, and it changes her DNA, so she's half alien, half human now. This was a really good book. I was surprised of how much I loved it with not knowing anything except we share the same last name. It was a 4 out of 5 star read. It wasn't a 5-star read because it leaves on a cliffhanger that I didn't like, and there's no records of there being a next book in the series, so I don't know. I don't like books that don't have a conclusion unless it's gonna be more books. You know? You know. Okay, so that's it for this book. Okay, next is Fae by Adeline Young, and this was also a Fairy Loot edition. As you can tell, it's very different than the cover that you've probably seen on book 2. Now this book, I've come to the conclusion I do not like this author's writing, or I don't know how to say it. This is the third book I've read by her that I have to power through, guys. I don't know. I tried. It was about the sea. Her father was a pirate. Honestly, I don't remember a lot about this. Her father basically left her on an island to fend for herself after her mother died, which was kind of shitty. Then she went on a pirate ship to find her father and say, yo dude, what the hell, you left me. But yeah, so this was actually a 2 out of 5 star read, which is really low for me. Like I said, could not get into it. I'm sorry. Hopefully I can find a book by her that I'll like in the future, but as of right now, it's not an author I'm gonna pick up in the future. Okay, next book is Not Even Bones by Rebecca Schaeffer. I saw this in Barnes & Noble and it looked interesting, and it was a paperback and they're cheaper, so I was like, I'll get it. So Nita and her mother basically kind of take supernatural beings and cuts them up and sells their organs on the black market. Yeah. The thing is I didn't like was there was really no world building in this. Like, she just kind of skimmed over it about the supernatural beings. I'm just thinking to myself, well, how did you guys know there were supernatural beings to begin with? Like, how did your world find out? It was set in overseas, so there was a lot of Spanish. There was an English, so it was very bilingual in this book. There was like a pink, I don't know, and she had like this ability to numb the pain where she couldn't feel pain at all. Like, you could do anything and she would not feel it, which is kind of cool but kind of weird at the same time. Like, I did not understand this, but it got a 3 out of 5 star for me. There are more books in the series. I don't know if I'll pick them up. As of right now, I probably won't. But yeah. Okay, and the last and final book, I actually don't physically have with me because it's at my boyfriend's house right now. So, we get a picture, if you can see. I Hunt Killers by Barry Legg. So, I don't know if I show my phone. Anyway, so this book is basically about this kid named Jazz, and so Jazz is 17, and when he was 13 years old, it was revealed to the whole town his father was a serial killer. So he's the son of a serial killer, and for him, every day was bring your kid to work day. So Jazz spent his whole childhood, his developing years with this man who showed him killings, how he would kill them, how he would take trophies. So Jazz basically knows how killers think. And then murders start happening in his hometown, which really resembles his father's type of killings. But his father is in prison, and everyone in the town kind of thinks it's him because obviously that's his father. So of course they think he's gonna be crazy just like him. And so Jazz is on the hunt for the killer to prove, yo, it's not me. But yeah, it was a really good book, and I ordered the next 2 books in the series because it's a trilogy, so you'll be hearing about that more later. But yeah, so that's it for my reading month. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you if you finished it to the end. I know there was a lot of books to talk about. But yeah, until next time, I'm Jacqueline, and this is my city of books that's growing every single day. Until next time, bye!